Holy smokes. That's right, folks. Joe Rogan has just endorsed Donald Trump, and the meltdown, I am sure, is going to be legendary. The effect on the election, we're going to talk about whether or not it makes a huge difference or not. I think, to me, we'll talk about that. I want to get first to the endorsement, then to Donald Trump's reaction, and then to some of the comments and exactly why I think that this is a big opportunity for Americans to really seize and take this country back on Election Day on November 5th. Let's get to the endorsement. First of all, by the way, many of you know or remember that I did these special edition Trump tailgate books. Well, I just put out for pre-order a 50 recipe Christmas book with delicious recipes like Big Mike's Christmas orbs, McMega fries, and a threat to our DeMock cookies, and 47 more recipes, all available on tailgatesfortrump.com. Link in the description below. Don't forget our big sponsor, metapcs.com, promo code The Quartering. Let's get to the tweet. The great and powerful Elon Musk. If it wasn't for him, we'd be effed. He makes what I think is the most compelling case for Trump you'll hear, and I agree with him every step of the way. For the record, yes, this is an endorsement of Trump. I mean, you know, some people are reacting like, oh, well, this is like at the last minute, and whether or not, you know, that's going to make a difference. We don't know. Look, I can't imagine there are really any undecided voters left at, you know, I'm recording this at 8:00 at night, the night before the election. But one thing it can do from a positive perspective is it can energize Trump's base. Trump needs something like he needs to win the election in Pennsylvania tomorrow by 500,000 votes. And in order to overcome the Democrat firewall there, roughly. And I think, you know, if you'll allow me, I think Joe Rogan has been making the case for Donald J. Trump for the last week, quietly, right? So he brings on Donald Trump 10 days ago. It has 45 million views. It's the second most viewed episode of the Joe Rogan Experience on YouTube. Then he brings on Francis and Constantine, who are like, you know, Trumpers kind of from the UK. Then you have JD Vance, 14 million views on JD Vance, by the way. I mean, incredible numbers. You have a normal Joe Rogan Experience episode getting like 500,000 to a couple million episodes. JD Vance gets 14 million views and counting. Then they bring on Fetterlump, and that only gets 1.5 million views. And then the night before the election, they bring on Elon Musk to make a 2-hour and 40-minute pitch for Donald J. Trump. Now, do I think that that Joe Rogan is a big Donald J. Trump guy? No, I don't. I think that Joe Rogan basically was, you know, exposed to all this like deep state kind of garbage really deeply and really convincingly. I think more so by JD Vance and then ultimately Elon Musk the next day, which really made him pick the side of the underdog, is what I believe. And when you look at a lot of the swing state data, the latest Atlas Intel swing state polls, which was the most accurate in 2020, I believe, has Trump ahead 5 in Arizona, 1.6 in Georgia, 1.5 in Michigan. He's down 2 in Minnesota, up 3 in Nevada, up 2 in North Carolina, up 1 in Pennsylvania. I mean, if Donald Trump can win Pennsylvania tomorrow, he is very likely to win the election. So if the Joe Rogan endorsement pushes, let's say, Pennsylvania, another 20,000, 30,000 votes in Pennsylvania, another 20,000, 30,000 votes in Wisconsin, another 20,000, 30,000 votes in some place like Michigan, Okay, and he ends up winning Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. It's over, and this is a time where I want to remind you, text, call your contacts, whatever you need to do to help to get them to the polls on November 5th, do it. This tweet already has 100,000 likes in like 20 minutes. Unofficial, very officially, this, for the record, this is an endorsement of Trump. I mean, Hodgkins, yeah, strong men are voting Trump. Graham Allen, on behalf of America, thank you. Libs of TikTok, let's go. ALX says, great news. Imagine you have to suffer through this cringe for another 4 years. This, of course, a Kamala meme. Andy No hits him with the whoa. They are panicking. Deplorables, garbage, Nazis, and they're sinking. I mean, this is the map that I'm hoping to see tomorrow. That's the path to victory. Be mad on the West Coast. You can have Colorado and New Mexico and Minnesota and Illinois and Virginia, and then the rest of the country votes Trump. Like, that's the map, right? That's the map. This is oddly turning me on, of course, from the bold lib, too big to rig. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Nicole Shanahan. And who does Kamala Harris have? Abortions? She has the ghosts of aborted babies. That's who she has. And you see, obviously, Donald Trump Jr., Joe Rogan endorses President Trump, 10,000 likes. Again, I think what Joe Rogan has been doing over the past week, by having JD Vance on, by having Donald Trump on, by having Elon Musk on, who are all basically surrogates for Donald Trump, or Donald Trump himself, his audience has been exposed to a lot of reasons why you would want to vote for Donald J. Trump. Will this mobilize them? Well, that's difficult because we don't know. We just don't know. Men do not vote in high numbers, but if they do, think about all the bad things they've said about men, in particular white men. You could literally put Trump in office tomorrow. Here is Trump finding out in real time.
I have some more big news, Megan. I'm just getting this right now. So somebody that's very, very respected asked me to do his show 2 weeks ago, and I said, why not? And to me, it's very big because he's the biggest there is, I guess, in that world by far. Somebody said the biggest beyond anybody in a long time. And his name is Joe Rogan, and he's never done this before.
Now, I'm not sure he has or hasn't endorsed anybody in the history. I know that he said hey, I'm a Bernie guy, or hey, this and that, but this is massive. And I think it's fair to point out that basically Joe Rogan was pissed off by Democrats and all their policies, also them refusing to do his show, right? This is the ultimate double bird to Kamala Harris for snubbing him, not coming on his show. For, Tim Walz never went on his show. Kamala Harris never went on his show. They didn't want to go on, and so he said, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and endorse Trump. It's wild.
And it just came over the wires that Joe Rogan just endorsed me. Is that right? Thank you, Joe. That's so nice. And he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that stuff. And he tends to be a little bit more liberal than some of the people in this room. No, I had a lot of fun, and he was amazing, and it was a 3-hour interview. In fact, I was 2 hours late for a rally that we had. I had explained that a little bit, and it was cold out that night. We flew, but we had to make it. We were more than 2 hours late.
I think Michigan. Yeah.
I understood. I said,
They tried to say oh, Trump leaves his rally goers out in the cold as he does Joe Rogan Experience. What?
I just was interviewed by a very interesting guy, and he just kept going on. They called it a long form, and it could have gone a lot longer, but he was great. And he's not a person that does endorsements, but he did an endorsement. So I just want to thank Joe Rogan. That's fantastic.
I mean, that's quite, I mean, again, some people are like a little salty, like it would have been nicer to, it would have been nice to have him endorse, um, a little earlier. I buy that. I think that that's fine. But at the end of the day, like, he did. And, I think that that's pretty massive. I think it's pretty massive that Joe Rogan, literally endorsed him, like, unquestionable, full-throated endorsement. You see here, the most popular podcaster in the world announced an endorsement on X while promoting his Monday interview with Elon Musk. If it wasn't for him, we'd be effed, Rogan said of Musk. He makes what I think the most compelling case for Trump you're ever going to hear, and I agree with him every step of the way. So not only does he endorse Trump, but he says, yo, listen to this episode if you want to hear, if you want to be convinced, essentially, of why you should vote for him. And like, I don't know how many, I'm not a big celebrity endorsements is going to change the world guy. You all know that. And I don't think that, Joe Rogan endorsing President Trump is going to turn, an election that, turn an election into a landslide that wasn't already going well. But I do think, and I do believe that this is a pretty big deal, that having Joe Rogan say, yep, this is me. I'm standing tall. I'm standing 10 toes on the line, and I'm endorsing President Trump. And we all know why. Like, it's because he supports his team. Like, he likes RFK Jr. He clearly liked JD Vance. And so I don't really know, how much he loves, for example, the other members of his team or whatever the case is. But now, election day, every headline, everybody's going to be talking about Joe Rogan endorsing Donald J. Trump. I don't know. I'll be curious to hear. Kind of what people say, in the comment section down below, and all that kind of stuff in terms of, will it have a big? I'll put it this way: it's not going to hurt him. You can see this. Donald Trump says they've already pulled out of a couple states. Word is they've pulled out of North Carolina and they've cut all their ads and they're using money someplace else. I even heard they ran out of money. They don't have any money.
They've already pulled out of a couple of states, states like, the word is they pulled out of North Carolina. They cut all their ads. They're using the money someplace else.
I'm sure they're not broke. There's nobody who had more money in history than Kamala Harris, but I'm absolutely pumped to see this. I'm pumped that hopefully this will rally people. Hopefully, he turned people. He said, listen to this podcast, which again has 200,000 likes and nearly 3 million views in 4 hours. I'm sorry. It's going to hopefully convince people to vote. JD Vance, I think, really did a great job. I'm hopeful. Vote, vote, vote. Bring people with you, especially if you're in Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin. Everywhere matters, but those, you really have no excuse now. Get out and vote, and let's secure America.